run. Yeah.
Morning, Richard.
Good morning, Darren. Yeah. How are you today? Yeah.
Good night's sleep?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Right. So what are we going to do today, Darren?
Well, today I think we're going to recap a little bit on yesterday, and then we're going to spend a little bit of time making, as we spoke about yesterday, that soup, a nice leek and potato that we both enjoy, and then we're going to make that chicken roulade.
Chicken roulade. I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Yeah, it's quite exciting, chicken roulade.
So shall I start off first? And let's go through this little bit of prep that we did for the soup.
Just that little recap from yesterday.
What goes into that? Yeah. So if you remember yesterday, we showed you dicing up the onion.
Yep.
I've chopped up a little bit of garlic to go with that.
Okay.
We've got just a little bit of herb going in because remember we had the bouquet garni in the vegetable stock.
Of course, yes. A little herb tea bag.
And there's my lovely vegetable stock there. Nice colour to it.
Lovely. And that's just pure vegetables and water.
Pure vegetables and water passed off through. What did we pass it through?
We passed it through the chinois.
And that's
the very fine mesh strainer that we spoke about yesterday.
We got a bit of all the impurities.
Yep.
We took out the bouquet garni.
Yep.
Got the nice clear stock.
And that's it. I mean, I'm going to show that again. As you can see there, it's so clear, really nice colour.
But you got a nice aroma.
I wish we had smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision would be great.
Yeah.
Because if me and you are getting hungry here.
Yeah, exactly. So, along with, what do we call that?
That's a mirepoix of vegetables. So
a mirepoix meaning?
It's that rough cut. We don't need to spend all day chopping and fine dicing because it's going to be unnecessary, really.
Exactly. So a little bit of leek, and then finally we had
the trimmings from the potato.
Yep.
Once we've done our garnish, our really important, very finely diced, beautiful look, all the trimmings, so there's no waste. Again, it's looking after those purse strings.
And there's those potatoes there, which have just been lightly poached off. Yeah.
Just nicely
cooked. A little bit seasoning, and that's something we're going to add as a garnish later. Yeah.
Okay. So we're making leek and potato soup.
Leek and potato soup. So what should we start off with then?
Well, I think just a little recap from yesterday. So we covered off the fundamentals of the kitchen as a whole, and also we covered off the importance of all the little tasks we do, the essential making sure you have the right knife, making sure you're trained to use the equipment. And today we're going to be using some quite important equipment.
Yep.
They're very dangerous. I mean, just outside of over here we've got a RoboCoupe, which we'll see in a minute, that we're going to make our mousse with, and we've also got our stick blender.
Yeah.
We're going to blend our soup with.
Lovely.
So I think if we get started with your good self, Richard, getting that soup on, because what are we talking? 15, 20 minutes, half an hour?
The idea, if we get the soup going first, and then we're going to go through how we do this chicken dish, and we bring the two dishes together.
Okay. Fantastic. So what's your first stage here then, Chef?
Well, we can look up, we can Google various recipes for leek and potato soup.
Yep.
Some people use a bit of oil, some people use a bit of butter. I prefer a bit of butter.
We all like a bit of butter.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a lot. I don't want my vegetable to look greasy in any way.
Yep.
Now, you can say the same could happen, with butter, but we don't burn the butter.
It's about balance, isn't it?
It's the balance. So, important thing is that we've got obviously a nice little bit of temperature coming through on this stove here.
Yep.
And what we do is we take a little bit of butter. But with the butter,
and what will butter add rather than using oil?
You've got a richness, you've got flavour from it.
Totally.
Straight away you've got that flavour, unlike the oil, which unless you're using
grease.
It's a grease. Yeah.
I mean, me personally, I prefer to use olive or rapeseed oil.
Yeah.
Rather than the vegetable.
Yeah.
And I mean, are you the same as that?
I use a lot of rapeseed oil at work.
Yeah.
But with induction, as you can see, if you get
it to the camera, they'll be able to see that.
Pan too hot, you're going to burn straight away.
Yeah.
Burn straight away.
And what can they do to adjust that? What can they do? I suppose you can add a little bit of oil with the butter?
You can do, but what I'd say straight away is change your pan, rinse it out, and don't waste all those ingredients and all that time. That time wasting. Yeah, it takes a moment to change your pan, but first of all, just don't throw everything in and say, oh my goodness me.
And then you're trying to hide it from people like me and you.
Let me just get a clean pan.
Rich is just going to get a quick clean pan over there. And as you can hear there, working in a kitchen, sometimes things do go wrong. It's never perfect every time. And we want to make sure that the product is not affected by having a pan that's too hot. Spend that extra minute to get a clean pan, or to go and wash the pan. I don't think either of us, even as head chefs, will reverse to washing the pan if we need it.
No, exactly. So in goes with the butter. Okay. And the butter at this stage is going in, and as we can see, is just melting. gently without burning.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've always said if people tell me I can't cook with butter anymore, that's the day I stop cooking.
Exactly.
Because it's such an important ingredient to us that, as Richard was saying earlier on, it's going to add real richness. It's going to add that extra flavour, and it's going to take away from being too greasy. So what have you added in there, Chef?
I've put in majority of that diced onion.
Yep. And why you added the onion and the garlic to begin with?
We need to cook out the onion first. We don't put it in raw. It won't cook out the same way as if you just throw everything in at the same time.
Yep.
Now we could argue the fact that we're going to add leek next, which it comes from the onion family. It's got a different texture to it. It softens quicker.
And it's a little bit more robust.
Have we got a spatula or something, Chef?
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah.
I can move this around, just stop it, and the idea is to soften the vegetable, not to burn it.
This is one of the pieces of equipment we were talking about yesterday with having the right equipment. And this is called what's this called, Chef? It's called a maurice, isn't it?
A maurice.
A maurice, and all that means is it's a spatula. It's rubber-ended, so it's quite flexible, as you can see, and it works with high heat. So you can use it in pans, but you can also use it on any product, and it cleans out the bowl better. It takes out all the products, so we're not wasting anything. So there you go, Chef.
That's great. And just while I'm being distracted and talking to you, I'm not letting my pan burn again. So it's very easy. We're using an induction. It's so easy just to put it to the side. Slow down that cooking process, not spoil something. I'm just going to add just that tiny bit of herb there.
Okay.
Simply because I like it.
Yep.
It's not a necessity.
And I suppose because we're going to blend and we're then going to strain the soup, we don't need to be worried about making another bouquet garnish.
Exactly.
Because we're going to take it out afterwards.
Well, ideally, we've got enough herbs.
Yep.
From that.
Again, it's about that personal preference. Richard was saying earlier on that you can Google any recipe, you can Google millions of recipes for leek and potato soup, but it's how you feel comfortable making the soup, how you feel comfortable with the process in which I guess you learned from a very early age in the kitchen. The way that you make soup, the way that you saute. And there you go, there's another one of those words we were talking about yesterday.
Saute?
Saute. It means just to gently cook. So we're not going to try and add too much colour at this point, are we?
No colour whatsoever.
Because what would sorry, I'm just going to ask a question. What colour do you want this soup to be?
I want this colour to be green, light green, not brown.
Yeah.
Not brown where I've got a little bit of burnt onion, a little bit of burnt leek or burnt potato in it. I just want that lightly softened down. And all I'm going to do is add a little bit of stock to that to prevent it from catching.
Yeah.
Not pouring in a whole amount.
And why wouldn't you just cover the vegetables in the stock?
It's not necessary. It's just not necessary. What we want to do is we want to maximise the flavour and not try it and get the flavour out when we've added too much stock.
Yeah.
And it's getting that balance right. And what I want to do is I want to taste the leek, not just potato.
Yep.
Yeah. And often, in a case of a leek and potato soup, people do put in too much potato because they want it thick and heavy, and you've got this wrong texture.
Yeah.
And it's not what I want. I want to taste that leek there.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking yesterday about not only is it got to look good, but it's got a taste of what it means to be. And a leek and potato soup that doesn't taste like leek and potato is not a leek and potato soup.
So I'm just going to turn that down a little bit now. And we're going to keep an eye on that.
Are we looking for a boil? Are we looking for a simmer?
I brought it up to the boil already, and we're adding a little bit of stock at a time. Basically, what we've done, we've just covered the leek and the potato with the stock.
Yep.
I'm going to now concentrate on what you're making.
Okay, yeah.
While that simmers away, not taking our eye off it.
What sort of length of time do you think? I mean, we're making a small pan there.
A small pan. I would envisage this would be ready in 20 minutes time.
Okay.
So we're not rushing it. The idea is to cook it through, soften it all up.
Yeah.
And then
I suppose if we don't cook those vegetables enough, we're not going to draw all the flavour out of them when we blend it later on.
No, the whole idea is that those, especially those leeks, the amount of onion flavour that's coming out along with the leek, tiny bit of garlic.
Yeah.
The flavour from that stock as well just makes it a lovely, enjoyable soup.
Wonderful. And I mean, would you...
So simple.
Would you ever serve that soup cold, leek and potatoes?
I would serve that cold, and we would call that a vichyssoise.
Yeah. Again,
vichyssoise is a traditional, it's a classical old soup.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Just like you, Chef. Classical and old.
Yeah. Chopped chives, chilled on a lively summer's day like today.
Yeah. Even though it's December outside, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, you're right. It's universal, that leek and potato, and I suppose you could always add different garnish. I mean, we were talking just the other day between ourselves that You could make this base and you could add a fish to it, like a smoked haddock. You could add a fresh peas, so it's a real nice flavour, but with something a little different.
It is never ending what you can create.
Yeah.
And as we spoke yesterday, that it's learning the basic elements. Once you've learned those basics,
yeah,
you can derive and you can make it. It's never ending.
It's all about I suppose it's about that passion and how much you take a product that you know how to make and you've been trained, and then you make it your own. You do that. The cold soup is a great example. Leek and potato soup, you serve it hot. Why not have it cold? And it is very, very nice. So
I think a lot of people, until they've tried it, say, no, you know, I'm used to it hot. Unless you've tried these things, it's seasoned correctly. You don't know.
Okay, as you can see, I'm waiting anxiously here, Chef.
Come on, let's go.
I'm waiting anxiously. So, right, as you can see on here, I've got a red board. Yesterday we spoke about that whole term of cross-contamination and making sure we're using the right products and the right chopping boards to do the right job. So red boards are for raw meat. I can't put my raw meat on the brown board, purely because then if Richard then chops his garnish up to go in the soup, doesn't have a lot of cooking, we have the potential to cause harm to people. So what I'm doing here, I've got on this chopping board 3 really nice looking chicken supremes. So I'm going to prepare 2 of them and I'm going to use 1 to make my mousse, Richard, okay?
Okay.
So as we spoke about yesterday, my mousse is going to be made using the blender. We're going to use some egg whites, some cream, a little bit of salt and pepper, because it's essential ingredients that we put into our food. We call it seasoning, because the salt's going to help balance all those flavours, as we know. So I'm going to start off by just making sure the ones I'm going to use to actually make my roulades are nicely trimmed, and they're looking as I want them to.
And what kind of sinew do we get in these?
So along this little inner fillet, we get a little line of sinew down there, which we're going to pull out. We're going to trim around the bone. We're going to trim up. I like to leave the skin on mine, because when I saute it up in a little butter later on, maybe, it gives it a nice colour, gives it a nice texture.
Crispy?
So, yeah, again, because we're going to poach this to begin with.
But you can pan fry it?
Yeah, again, we want to cook it mostly to begin with, because of that chicken mousse inside is still raw chicken.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over, and then we'll look at the shape. It's nicely done. Then I'm going to just work my way around the knuckle. I'm not going to just chop it off in a big line, purely because it's wasteful. This, what would you do with the chicken wing, Chef?
Well, there's quite a few things I've learned. I worked with a Chinaman, and he's shown me what I can do with a little piece of meat like that, and you can make some beautiful little dishes.
Yep.
You can trim it up, you put in a nice little oriental dressing,
Yep.
and you can make a lovely little hors d'oeuvre out of it.
Yeah.
You can bake them off.
I mean, if you're feeling really generous, you can give them the stuff as well.
You give them the stuff, yeah. But otherwise, you can make a very tasty little dish out of that.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking a few moments ago about a dish that I currently do, where we take the chicken wing off and then we confit it down and we add it into our...
What's confit, Chef?
Confit is that slow process of cooking. We're going to use an oil to cook it in, so it's really gentle.
Which kind of oil do you use for that?
We can use duck fat, you can use goose fat, you can use olive oil, you can use rapeseed oil even. It depends on the length of the time you're going to cook it. If you've got something with rapeseed oil being a very rich oil, it does have a tendency to burn if you cook it for too long. Whereas the goose fats and the natural fats are going to add more flavour and they can cook better.
Lovely.
So, and then we would take that, we would add it into a dish. So instead of it being wasted, all of a sudden it becomes part of the dish. So as you can see on here, you can see just down along this line here, there's a little bit of sinew. I'm just going to nip that out just by pushing my knife in the very points, really gently. I'm just going to cut that out. Okay, so that takes that out. We're going to get rid of our waste, go a little bin, and then another little word here, butterfly. So inside here is the fillet, as you can see, and inside there is a little membrane. We're going to just cut that membrane and open that out. Okay, again, it still doesn't look particularly big.
What about this sinew around here, Chef? Would you take that out?
That's coming out as well in a minute, yeah. So you can take this in and fillet off, and again, it can be part of a different dish, or it can stay in part of this product. For this, we're going to take that off. That we can use for a nice little chicken wrap or a chicken sandwich, or even just some diced chicken for a pie. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this out. So I'm going to use a flat hand, so my knife's not going to cut my hand. And I'm going to go in along the thicker part of the chicken, not all the way through, very similar to the onion yesterday, and I'm going to fold it over.
Lovely.
just so we use the term butterfly, because it's like its wings. And then we do the same, just slightly the other side, so everything's kind of the same thickness. And we do that purely because we want to cook nice and evenly. Okay? So we've got this nice butterfly piece of chicken. And the reason I've left the skin on, again, is because of when I cook it later on, I want to be able to see that skin, that nice golden brown colour, that nice texture. So I'm going to quickly prepare this other one now, just by trimming around there. Trim it up a little bit, get rid of any excess skin that we don't need. Because the skin is quite fatty, we don't want, people nowadays want to be quite healthy with their food and to look after themselves, so we try and minimise that. So, and an essential thing we haven't really spoken about this morning is when we change jobs, obviously Richard's been doing a lot of just vegetable prep, I'm going to be doing two things. I'm going to be doing raw meat prep, and then I'm going to go on to some vegetables after that. So the essential thing that I do is I wash my hands correctly. So when I finish my chicken, I clean down and I'm ready to process my next stage. Again, that comes off. It can be a lovely little chef's dinner right there. Again, in nice and easily. You see I'm taking my time. I'm not rushing it. I don't want to cut my hand open. I've already got one blue plaster on. I don't want any more. Again, nice and even. Okay? So there are two. We're going to call this our roulade. And this one then is going to be part of our mousse. So this is going to be cut very similar to your mirepoix earlier on, Chef, with your soup.
Okay.
And what that means is I'm just going to cut it roughly. So, but for this, I'm going to pull the skin off. I don't want the skin. I don't want the skin in my mousse. I'm going to trim up this bit of sinew around here. Nice and gently. So the chicken breast is very lean. Once you go with that skin, there's no real fat in it. So this comes out. We're going to use this time. So, and there's another great use for this. We're going to use it in the mousse.
Fantastic.
So, I don't need to worry too much about trimming out loads of sinew because we're going to pass our mousse through that drum sieve. Okay. So as you can see, all I'm doing is just roughly chopping it. I'm not going to throw a whole chicken breast into the blender, but then again, I don't want to have it so finely diced. It's going to take me 10 minutes to chop it up. Okay. So that's that. So we've got our chicken ready on our red board. We've got our diced chicken ready for our mousse. The next stage I'm going to do is I'm going to separate an egg.
Is it okay just to leave the chicken out like this? If you're going off to do another job, would you normally do that, or would you cover it over? Or?
No, if I was going to do something else, if I was called away, and we both know as a head chef you get called to do a lot of things, I would then have this put on a tray, cling filmed, date labelled, using that gun that we showed them yesterday.
Yep.
And then make sure it's put away. Raw chicken, 2 days. So
that would be my date for, yeah.
That's it. So we've got a tray, we cling film it, we then put it in the fridge for me to come back to you later. If I left it on the side, again, it's growing bacteria. It's potentially dangerous.
Okay.
So I'm just going to quickly rinse my hands.
Lovely.
So how's your soup getting on, Chef?
Yep. We just got just a very, very gentle simmer. It's certainly not boiling away. We can even take it a little bit faster. But all the while that's in there, that's softening up. We don't want a complete mush. We don't need that. We want to be able to blend it, as you say, blend all those flavours together. The lovely smell from it.
Yeah?
Lovely smell.
Lovely smell today.
Yeah.
I know I'm feeling hungry already. Okay, so essential, clean hands. Clean all the time. If you don't have those clean hands, all we're going to be doing is adding in rubbish and nastiness to the food, and also potentially very dangerous stuff. Raw chicken is one of the most common causes of salmonella.
So we're going in there then.
We've got our diced chicken that we prepared earlier. That's going in. Then we're going to add a couple of other ingredients to this. So we're going to add some eggs. So with this size mousse, just a normal everyday egg, we're going to add 1 egg white. I'm not going to use the yolk because that's going to colour it.
Would you like me to too much?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to show them a process that I use a lot.
Yeah.
To separate it. Some people, there are 2 ways, a majority. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just use these in a bowl. Be very careful you don't put shell in here.
Is there a way you could do that without getting shelled? Because it can be a slight little accident.
Yeah, you can do it off what I would class out of danger, so you can use a bowl. So I don't want the egg white yolk, as you can see there. That's the bit I don't want, but in there has just gone the egg white. So, egg yolks, what would you use egg yolks for, Chef?
That straight away is ready for my hollandaise.
Again, exactly the same, yeah?
We're making hollandaise up to 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Breakfast, lunch and dinner.
So I'm not sure if I can get this in the angle. So in there, all we've got so far is the diced chicken and egg whites. What we're going to do is going to give that a little pulse. By mainly pulse, it's not a constant blending. So I just want to blitz that chicken down. And by blitz again, there's another one of those words that we use quite often.
Yep.
Without really addressing what it means, and that just means that we're going to blend it. We're going to make it nice and smooth. So again, this machine will only work with the guards on. So we've taken what was those diced chicken into this little now puree. What we're going to do is we're going to add into there salt and pepper and a little bit of cream. So I'm going to get my balance right first. So I'm going to put this on constant now. So this is just double cream. We use double cream because of the level of butter fat in it. It's going to give us a nice mousse, so we're going to add it really gently.
So what happens when you leave that in for too long, once you've added the cream?
It'll split you.
I mean, you separate?
Yeah, I mean, would you like to explain what we mean by splitting the mousse?
Yeah, it's when the cream, the fats separate, they're over whipped, the same as when you whip in the cream, it would turn to butter.
Yeah.
If you over whip it. So the same as when you're adding cream into a mousse, etc. It's either done with a quick whiz or blitz with that, or folded in by hand.
Okay. So I'm going to show this everybody now. I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to use my Maurice again because I don't want to waste anything. Thank you, Chef. So in here, as you can see now, we have this almost ready looking mousse. But what we need to do is make sure that's nice and smooth. So I'm going to ask Richard if he would be so very kind to pass our mousse for us.
Will do.
So what we're going to use is our drum sieve again. I'm going to grab that and the bowl. So while Richard's doing this, I'm going to talk about a couple of other ingredients I'm going to add in. So you'll be able to see what Richard's doing here is while I'm talking. So as you can see there, he's got his drum sieve. He's got his little plastic scraper that he's going to use. And what we're aiming to take out of there is we're going to take out the sinews, the rubbish. I'll get rid of that, Chef. We'll get that in the wash-up. Again, essential. It's that clean working environment. So if we don't need it, let's get it in the wash-up. If that means we have to wash it, we have to wash it.
So keeping your fingers preferably away from the meat, we slowly just use a little bit of time, and as explained before by Darren, we just push it through. A little bit of pressure on this piece around here, pressing that through.
And again, we spoke yesterday that this is a time-consuming job. Why is it so essential, Richard?
It just gets the finesse out of a mousse. As you see when I've finished passing this through, you'll see the little bits of sinew, little lumps, discoloration, etc. left on this sieve, which would not go into that mousse, and it makes it a perfect mousse as opposed to a rough mousse.
Yeah. Is there any times you would use a rough mousse?
Not necessarily,
no.
Depending on the ingredients I was using, but it doesn't really, there's nothing really...
There's no advantage.
There's no advantage.
To not pack
and if you don't have one of these sieves, then what you would use is a bit more time with your knife, removing every little sinew.
Yeah, that's it.
Visible.
Yeah.
But guaranteed...
This is the time saving in effect then.
But guaranteed, even though you feel you've got it all out, there's always something left in there.
Yeah.
And as I say, it doesn't take long. But when you've got it for 500 people, it's a different story.
And that's sometimes, I suppose, the bit that people forget, that you cook and you cook at home and people say, oh, I love to cook and it's great fun. That the job for us is very different. That we could have, we could have an event going on that's 400 and 500 people.
So underneath, what we have there is the mousse that has been passed through, and as you can see, it's a totally different texture.
It almost looks very creamy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm just checking my sieve there. I've got no other rubbish on there, and what we have there is...
So there's a bowl there, Chef, you can use, or we can use another one, yeah?
Yeah.
Here we go.
But what we have this side is the various sinews still left on the top here, which obviously we did not want to have in our mousse. It's a worthwhile task to get the extra pure mousse.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you for that, Richard. How's your soup getting on over there, Chef?
I think it's almost telling me it's almost ready. But what I think I'll just add a little bit more stock, Chef. Yeah.
So do you need to do something with that before we carry on the roulades?
No, I'm going to leave it just sitting there nice. I think it can still go for a little bit longer. Okay, I mean, how do we test it though? Simply.
The soup?
Yeah.
We're going to just get a knife or the end of a little fork, and we're going to check that our potatoes are cooked, check that our leeks are cooked. And if they've still got a little bit of resistance, they're not falling off the knife.
It's not falling off the knife. Very gently back in it goes, and we leave it, and we can be patient, and let's get on with our mousse.
Okay. Yeah? So these are some of the other ingredients we're going to add. This is very James Martin-esque, isn't it? I like that, James Martin-esque. So we have, as we spoke about yesterday, some sunblush tomatoes, and these are nice and soft. They're soaked in oil to give them a real sweet flavour, and as Richard said, they could be called sun-dried. They're a little bit firmer and have that dry texture. Sun-kissed again are the same process in that nice oil. We have some very finely chopped spring onion, and we have some shredded basil. So basil's a much softer herb than we were using yesterday, so we wouldn't add this until we were ready to actually make the product.
Exactly.
So obviously we need to look at the balance in how much we're going to add. We're not making a huge amount of mousse, so I'm probably going to add about half of what I've got there, which is probably about 4 or 5 little slices of tomatoes. So maybe 1.5 tomatoes, the skin off.
So this quantity here on this plate would be for how many? 4 or 5?
Yeah, probably between 4, 5, 6 maybe, depending on the size of the chicken. Again, the more you add, the more you're just going to detract away from the flavour that you are making a chicken dish. You're not making a basil and tomato dish.
Well, I can remember the first time somebody actually gave me a dish with basil in, and they said, oh, we've got basil in this dish, and it was overkill, and it spoilt it completely because it's such a strong herb.
Yeah. So, as you can see there, I haven't added all my ingredients in, but you can see there what I've got is a nice looking mousse with all those little bits in. So I'm just going to mix this to look at the consistency, look at the way it looks, and that's a big thing. I mean, I suppose in a way you could take a little bit of this, you could just quickly pan fry a little bit just to taste it. So what are we missing here, Chef? What are we missing?
I think you need a little bit of seasoning, but like a lot of things, you think you've added certain ingredients. How much seasoning do you need? Is it just a touch of salt to bring out that flavour?
Yep, maybe just a little
or
sprinkle
do we
of
automatically just throw in salt and pepper just because we think that's the correct thing to do?
I'm going to add a little pinch of salt just to balance that flavour of the chicken, and a little tiny pinch of pepper. Nothing too much. Because again, I'm probably going to season my chicken when I cook it later on, just to get a really nice balance.
And it's so easy to over season.
Yeah. And some people, again, they're looking after their health and looking after what they eat. Do they want a lot of salt in their diet?
A lot of people are frightened to put too much in, and they do get very fastidious about putting too much in, and they're not getting the best flavour out of the dish.
Taste of salt. Got some questions here, Chef. I brought these along because it's going to make our job so much easier. And all this is a little piping bag. Well, not a little piping bag, quite a big piping bag.
Okay.
So we're going to use this to help get our mousse into our chicken, nice and clean, nice and tidy. We're not lumping it around with a spoon and getting it everywhere. So all I'm going to do, the advantage is I have quite big hands. So I'm going to put the piping bag over my hand and wrap it over the top. Again, it's all about being clean, being tidy. And I've instantly got an area, so as my mousse comes up, I can just put it on there and use the back of my thumb to help scrape it into the bag.
Okay.
So again, I would do the same process if I was making 2 chicken supremes or if I was making 200 chicken supremes. So thank you, Richard. So as you can see there, all I've got is the chicken mousse in the bottom of the bag, and help push that down. Because what I don't want is I don't want to be spending all day trying to get spoons and scraping it off. This process is just going to be much quicker and easier.
Lovely.
Okay, it's nice and clean, nice and tidy. I'm going to nip the end off, not too big because I don't want a massive line of mousse. I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm just going to pipe. So I'm going to go from the bottom all the way up. So it's nice and even. And again this way. As you can see there, what I've done is I've got that mousse right in the centre of my chicken, and in the minute it looks quite rough. So the process we're going to follow next is when we're going to make that into what looks like a really nice, almost like a little cylinder shape.
Yep.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this. Remembering I've got skin on one side, so I want that skin on to be on the outside. I don't want it rolling inside. So I'm going to wrap the chicken over the top to surround that mousse in the centre. We spend a lot of time putting it where it needs to be. As you can see, there's one. And again, there, and over the top. So that's what we're left with at the minute.
Lovely.
Okay? So I'm going to move this out of the way because I want you to be able to see the process then of wrapping it to make it into a roulade. As you can see here, there's a little bit of blue cloth under my board, chef. What do we do that for?
That is stability
Yeah?
on the board. You're going to get some chefs who are cutting away and the board slips to one side or to the other or comes off the table. That is when you need to be safe. A wet cloth, a wet piece of paper underneath will keep it safe.
So this is the best invention and the worst invention in the kitchen, cling film. We use it more times than you can ever imagine. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take our chicken, I'm going to pop it right in the centre, and then I'm going to wrap it, the cling film over. And the most important thing I find with this is tucking that cling film back round to really develop that shape early on.
Yep.
And then we're going to roll nice and gently. We're not going to squeeze it, we're not going to press it, we're not going to spend all day. We want to get a good bit of cling film on there. So then I'm going to get one of my little knives.
So what do you reckon, about 3 or 4 layers on there?
Yeah, so that's probably gone round 3, 4, maybe 5 times because we're going to put this into a pan of simmering salted water in a minute. I don't want all the water to get inside and just boil the chicken and dilute all my flavours. So we're going to roll that. I'm going to move the cling film a sec so you can have a look, and then I'm going to actually roll the chicken on the table. So what we're doing is we're forcing those ends in to flatten them off.
And it's also important we get it almost even, either end. It's easy if you're not rolling
one tiny little bit.
Either end, get that nice cylindrical shape there.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
So
that looks good.
What I'm going to do, this is me being quite finicky, that's a word, I'm sure it is because some people tie these ends, some people leave them open. What I tend to do is just do another quick roll round. Keeps everything nice and tidy in there.
Then nothing leaks.
Holds it all in, nothing's going to get in the ends. I'm going to tuck that over.
Also, chef, doesn't that make it easy when you come to undo it?
Yep.
You can unwrap it as opposed to having to cut through.
Yeah, that's it.
And when we've got it on for 300 people, it makes that job that much easier. Yeah?
Hugely easy because it's not tied up, it's not all looped around. All of a sudden you just literally nip the end with your knife and it pops out. So then I'm going to do one more and we'll get these into simmer.
Yep.
I'm not going to say boil because we don't want to boil
Do you
our
want me to
chicken.
put those in now?
Yeah, in a second. I'm just going to finish this one so they can go in. Because they're roughly the same size, I mean, we use an 8-ounce chicken supreme. So chicken supreme just purely means that it's a chicken with a bone in it.
It's 2014. What's 8 ounces?
Oh, 8 ounces. See, this is old money, this is now.
Eh?
So to show my age now, aren't I? So 8 ounces is 227 grams.
227.
I do apologise to all those people that work in grams nowadays. And it's quite funny because I have this discussion a lot. That when I started to cook, I started to cook 94, 95 time, so 20 years ago now, everything was pounds and ounces. Still weigh yourself at home in pounds and stone, I'm sure. Do you weigh in kilos anymore?
Oh yeah.
No, do you weigh yourself in kilos? Or do you weigh yourself in pounds and ounces?
I don't weigh myself.
You don't weigh yourself? You don't need to worry about stuff like that?
No.
No, okay. So, in the kitchen now, everything's in kilos. Give me a quick recipe off the top of your head for a cake mix.
Equal quantities.
Tell me what quantity you use.
If I use 3 eggs, I weigh my eggs, I weigh the flour, I weigh that, and it's all equal. And it's equal, and that'll bring out the perfect
Do you use that?
sponge.
Could you use that in grams, or do you use that in?
Just doesn't matter whether you use pounds or ounces. You just weigh them, and then weigh it equal.
I was trying to catch him out then by saying he was using grams, but he didn't go for it. So, as you can see, they're pretty much exactly the same size. You've got the same level of mousse. We've got the same size chicken. I didn't season the chicken yet because I'm going to do a further cooking on it later.
Lovely.
Okay? So I'm going to add these just gently into a little bit of simmering water. As you can see,
Chef, I want to do my soup. Come on.
Yeah, no problem at all. Sorry, Chef, I'm taking over this whole thing here. So much that just goes in. Again, these can be steamed. They can be poached.
And again, you said just simmering, not
just
boiling.
simmering. It's not boiling, as you can see there. It's just a little ticking over. I mean, every time I lift it up for the camera, we lose our boil. We lose our simmer. Okay, so Chef, you want to get yourself ready with your soup? I'm going to have a quick get rid of my thing and tidy it down.
Yeah. Okay, and we've got something to blend in.
Got something to blend in? Yeah, I will get you something now, chef. One important factor, chef, because I've been using raw meat, I really need to make sure I clean properly. So we're going to use our blue towel, and we're going to use a chemical called D10. D10 is just a sanitizing cleaner. You've got to come across a bit, chef. You're out of shot. So I'm just going to make sure that I've cleaned down, we're nice and tidy. So whenever we do our next job, we're not going to contaminate ourselves. So when Rich is going to blend his soup or boil his soup up, he's not going to get in any trouble. We're not going to be dangerous. We're not going to use an oven cloth or anything else to wipe down. Some sanitizer, a blue cloth. If it was really dirty, I'd make sure I cleaned it first, then sanitize it afterwards.
Lovely.
Okay, so I'm going to find you a little thing to blend your soup in, chef.
Good. So while we talk about the soup, we're going to blend it, pass it through. We're just going to use a conical strainer, chef.
I would say so, chef, yeah, because otherwise you're going to lose too much of your product, aren't you?
And then I'm going to show you how I like to garnish my soups, just to give it that little extra special look about it. So,
let's look what I found for you, chef.
Can you pour a soup in here?
Yeah.
Is it safe to pour the hot soup into this?
Yeah, I mean they're heat-proof plastic, so. And as you can see here, I'm just getting ready with the stick blender. And as you can see, we've not made a huge amount of soup.
Now we can see we've got that much. If we find it's coming up too thick, we can always add a little bit more stock. The other way around, it takes away the whole texture. We have to remake the soup in terms of adding more potato or adding more leek to bring it out. So it's far better to have it thicker to begin with and add a little bit more stock to than the other way around. Yeah.
And also one important factor, we were talking yesterday about the HACCPs, the hazard analysis we were talking about, and the allergies. When we've got no mustards in there, there's no celeries, there's no flowers. So all of a sudden, this is versatile for a lot of people, gluten-free people, celiacs, people with allergies to mustard, people with allergies to celery. Can all have this. We haven't got to worry about them.
A lot of recipes, they will ask you to add milk, add cream at this stage.
Yeah.
I don't.
No.
I keep it neutral, and again, that immediately gives me an option to give it to someone who is dairy-free.
Yep.
And we like to add elements at the end, so we're not making so many extra dishes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally, chef.
So
totally.
are you going to give that a little blend?
I am indeed, chef.
Come on, you're my commie chef today. Come on.
Okay, sorry, chef. Sorry, chef. See, let's head chefs are used to people doing stuff for us. So, stick blender. Making sure it's not dragged all across the kitchen. I'm going to use the stick blender. And I'm just going to blend the soup. Looking good, chef? Would you say it's a touch thick for a soup?
I'll say it's a little bit thick, and at this stage we would add just a little bit more stock.
Okay. So yeah, the smell-o-vision is something we need to invent.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I'm hungry.
It does smell good, doesn't it?
It smells great. That's
how simple this stock is, if it's made correctly.
Ken, what do you think? Consistency, what do you think we're there?
I think we're almost there, just a little bit longer.
It's very noisy, you know that. Okay, I think we're there, chef.
That's lovely.
So I'm just going to take that out, make sure I'm not going to drip everywhere. Okay. And again, I'm going to turn this off before I take it apart, chef. Because you don't want to put this in the wash straight away, do you?
Do you think we need to pass this?
I would say so, chef, yeah, because obviously the leeks are quite sinewy and they have a lot of string in them.
Lovely.
So,
okay. We've got a sieve.
So yeah, I shall get that for you now. So we cleaned ourselves away so greatly. Bear me one sec, chef. So, what garnish are you going to use in there now?
Whilst we're just looking for this sieve, I'm going to first pour the soup into the bowl. Then I'm going to add different garnishes. Now, earlier on, we diced this potato, which and poached it off. So that's one little garnish we can have for the soup. I've deep fried some leeks, which gives it a lovely straw finish. They can be added on top. I made some little croutons out of bread. I've just toasted them off in a little bit of butter.
Okay, yeah.
And finished those off in the oven, Darren, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've got my strainer, I've got a pan.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put this through here.
That's lovely.
And in my hand I've got a little ladle. And the reason I've got this ladle is because I want to be able to push all that flavour through.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to use that, the back of the ladle, nice and gently, to really, I'm going to come down a little bit so we can see a little bit better. I'm just going to keep pushing that through.
And what do we end up in the sieve then? It's
So
just
all that's ended up in the bottom of there is the little bit of leftover pulp and sinew and
lovely.
all the little bits we don't want.
Okay.
The bits that are going to affect the eating of it. So but the last little bit is where you really want to press, because that's where your flavour's going to be, chef, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Okay, again, going to get that all up.
If we can see that on the camera, really.
You can see on the table, you can see on the table. You can see on the table.
Everywhere. And what a performance that is. So we'll move that away.
I'll help you out there, chef, don't worry. It's his age, I think. we're not used to this cooking, like. We're used to having a team.
Starting again. We're seeing the colour of this, and
Yep. So what are you doing that for? Why is it important?
before I finish it, before I season it,
Yeah.
I want to make sure
It's cooked.
I've got a balance there of the leek and the potato.
Yep.
It's not imbalanced, but it's also telling me what I need to put in.
Yep.
I'm thinking,
Does it need some
how
seasoning?
much? We need some seasoning in there.
Okay.
And
So you've tasted this, so you know how much seasoning to put in. And that's a really key point. What Richard's doing now is he's tasting the product before he seasons it, rather than just seasoning it, thinking, yeah, it needs some salt. He's making sure that he's looked at the product, he's tasted it, he's eaten it, he's actually working through the stages to say, right, yeah, I think it needs salt. And you have to work on what you think is right. It's about the education that we've had throughout the years of doing this to say,
yeah,
you know what, it's really important that we taste it. And then he's tasting it again. He's got a clean spoon each time he does it. If he doesn't have that, he's going to keep putting the tasting spoon back into the product we're going to serve.
So at this stage, I feel I've got a nice neutral soup that can go into that dish and people can enjoy it as is right now. But as I say, I'm going to add all these different elements to it. And if I could have one more board, I want to show off on one more little thing on this for this garnish here.
Yeah, what colour board do you want, Jeff?
If we've got another brown board or
I'll get you a brown board, no problem at all. So if you want to get you a little bit of garnish ready.
Yeah.
It's showing off now, chef, yeah?
So with the rest of these little elements added to the soup, and a little soup ladle, please, chef.
No problem at all. I am the commie today, aren't I?
Yeah.
This is one of those terms that I suppose people won't really know. What is a commie?
Commie? Well, from my days of starting off, the commie was the first position you had in the kitchen after you've served your apprenticeship.
Is that like T-boy?
It was a stage up. You'd learnt your basics.
Okay, yeah.
And you'd done your college, and I can quite remember to this day what my head chef said to me when I finished my apprenticeship. Great, you've got your apprenticeship, and now you can start to learn how to cook.
Yeah. Is that a bit like driving? You pass your test, then you learn to drive.
Exactly. And I think
Can I have a taste, chef?
you can have a taste.
Thanks, I'm glad. Very nice. Very rich. That's creamy, but there's no cream in there.
Exactly. So how have we got that kind of creamy texture to it?
That really nice butter, the potato, and that blending.
The blending, as you say, using the correct potato,
Yep.
over butter, it's not greasy.
Yep. No.
There's not an ounce of grease on
No.
there. But
As you can see, I'm just going to jump in there just to show that without pulling on the table.
yeah.
See in there.
Ever burn my hand underneath?
Yeah, that's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. Does this need to go back on the stove because it's not like
Yeah.
super hot?
We
So
can
while you're
warm
garnishing
that through. So
put that back on the
again,
warmer.
showing off that these are chives from my herb garden. I'm going to just chop through these very, very, very finely.
Again, fingers out the way all the time, yeah. And what are we going to add chives for? What's that going to give?
Chives, again, coming from the onion family. It all balances, it all works with it. It's not an unusual flavour to add to it.
Yep.
It gives it vision. It gives it another little texture.
I've got vision, you know that.
And what we don't always have the ability to do is to pick the chive flower, which is in season at the moment. And we go back to our seasonality when we have an option to use these kind of things, like when we can use a borage flower as well for our garnish. And it's one thing that takes us one little step above a lot of other people who don't have this.
And is that edible?
This is perfectly edible.
Yeah.
These little leaves can be picked off. We use these on our canopies, or you can leave it as a flower decoration, like you can use a nasturtium leaf.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those edible flowers really enhance the dish. So.
And this is about taking it into another vision. So, if we're ready with this soup then, Chef?
Yeah,
I just want to build this dish up. And that is a leek and potato soup. How versatile we can make it.
So you've got the very simple product there. There's no cream. We've not needed to add anything into that. But we're going to finish this dish with that real good the garnishes that you've put together, the leeks, the chives, the potatoes.
And it's not about drinking a gallon of soup, but it's being presented in a nice bowl that comes to the table looking presentable. So, in terms of presentation, Chef, with these potatoes here, if we've got my spoon again, please, Chef.
Yeah, it's all nice and clean.
These are just lukewarm, but I'd like to put in just a few of these little pieces of potato garnish, which would hit the people with different textures. As they cut through, they're not visible all the time. That adds a nice little touch.
Why is it important about texture? What is it about the texture that's going to make it a better product to eat?
It's interesting. It's not just a slurp, slurp, slurp.
Yeah.
You get all of a sudden, oh, that's different. That balances nice with that.
I suppose it's that sensory thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're not just eating what tastes nice. You're eating something. Oh, what was that?
Well,
what was that there? What was
that's
that?
Nice. It's a nice little touch, a nice little thought.
Yeah.
It all goes together. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this stage, then we can sprinkle a few little chives on there.
Yeah. I've got to say, Chef, I'm very hungry.
We could just leave it.
I might have to go outside in a minute and eat this soup.
And then if we want to be a little bit more fancy.
So all of these flavours are part of the dish. We've got the leeks, we've got the chives, they're all part of the same family. We've got the potatoes in there as the garnish.
And then, just to finish it off, we can finish it with a flour.
Wow.
Now, that for me is just a posh looking soup. Other people will say that is too posh.
It depends on the context.
The point I'm trying to make is you can add and add and add. You don't necessarily have to take it to that stage. But for me, that's a very...
If that came to your table now for dinner,
I'd say that looks very, very nice.
The chef spent time.
I'm ready. I think the chef's spent his skills in just putting a few elements together which marry together. You happy with that, Chef?
I mean, for me that looks great.
Yeah.
Honestly, if that came to the table, we're going to come back a tiny bit, Chef, just so people can enjoy that, what you've done. And I think that's really key, that Richard's put his own touch on that soup. It's very easy to get a bowl of soup, ladle the soup out and send it out. And we even want to even take it one more step, and we could even add... So what's in there?
Just little spots of cream.
Yep. Again,
not great swirls, but just little elements that give it that, a little bit of cream, a little diced potato, a little bit of leek, a little bit of chive. It all adds to the points to it. So that
texture, and for me that looks great.
Yeah. Happy with that, Chef? Yeah.
That's a round of applause right there.
So let's have a look at this mousse now.
Let's have a look. So we're back onto the roulade now, yeah?
Yeah.
So this has taken about 15-20 minutes because of the size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this out. And I can do it for you, Chef. What you can do for me actually, Richard, is I really would like to serve this a little bit of wilted spinach.
A little bit of wilted spinach.
Yeah,
what do you mean by wilted, Darren?
So wilted basically means that we're going to gently cook it with some butter.
Yeah.
So it's soft, it's not boiled, it's not gone black. All of a sudden we've got this really nice product just to serve with it.
Yeah.
And yesterday you spoke about jus and the little drizzle of jus. Again, that would finish the dish nicely. But this today is more about the process.
Okay.
The whole vision of bringing together what we started off with, what was just a chicken breast.
Yeah.
Some other ingredients to make a mousse and how we finished it. So I've got two here.
Ready for me to do that now?
Yeah, I'm literally going to let this rest a minute. And then I'm going to get the pan on. I've got my pan on nice and hot to get this all cooked, to get the skin cooked up. So what I'm going to do.
So important one thing that Darren has done, it only takes a second, but he puts the spinach into a colander and he just removes any little pieces of grit, dirt, dust, sand that you can get on the lettuce on the spinach any time of the year. So depends where it comes from, depends what's in the air, but it's important always just to wash through your leaves and wash through the spinach.
Yeah, you don't want any dirt in there, chef.
Yeah,
you're right.
It's just taking that little bit of time makes the dish special.
So chef, there you go. Put a little pan on there for you.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to pop that on.
So I'm just with a little bit of butter. I'm just going to literally just soften the spinach down. A little bit of seasoning with that, chef?
Please, yes, definitely. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to open up my chicken. I've got two here. So one that's out of the cling film already. In fact, I've just put that in our way, chef. So I'm going to move that side. Put in the cling film. Just shake that, and one that's ready to go. So what I'm going to do is on a yellow board, because it's a cooked meat now, we've gone past that raw stage. I'm just going to nip the ends of my cling film, just really gently. And what you'll see is there'll be some juice in here which comes from the chicken. It won't be full of water. As you can see, I'm going to take that out, and there's very little that comes out. That means our cling filming was right. So again, one of the most important stages we would do is we would probe it. This might go through the oven. What we want to do is make sure this is cooked. So I've got my pan on there, and I'm going to use a bit of oil because I want a higher temperature. And I'm going to finish it with butter this time.
Okay.
So my pan's nice and hot. If we can shoot over here. So I can feel the heat coming through my hand. Making sure I'm getting the right one, which I think I am. Yeah. So I'm just going to add a little bit of oil. Not too much, I don't want lots. Okay. As you can see there. And you saw me there using the little squeezy bottle, chef.
Reason for that?
Reason for that is just more control. It's just more control.
And not just pouring and making a mistake and having too much in there, splashing it, burning yourself.
So I've got my chicken, nice and taken out the cling film. I've then got my pan of oil. I'm going to test this first, really gently. That's what I'm listening for. You can pick that up, and I've gone straight on my skin side down. I'm not getting my hands in there. I'm not dropping it to get oil splashed everywhere. And now this is the point where I'm going to add my seasonings. Lovely. Because I'm going to season my chicken now. So if you're nearly ready, chef, we can bring this together nice and gently. So I'm looking for a really nice colour on my skin, and I'm looking to give this a little extra flavour with that butter, with that seasoning. So I'm cooking at a much higher temperature than which it was earlier on. As you can see there now, we're starting to get a lovely colour, chef. Can you see that? Yeah. The spinach goes in. The spinach is notoriously full of water, so that's why it's important that we have that slightly higher temperature. So I'm just going to move this around in the pan. This has just come out of the simmering water, so it's nice and hot.
And as you see, I'm putting it on the stove. I'm just wilting it down and just giving that softness without burning it. I've softened it. Just a tiny little bit of seasoning to that.
Okay, there's a little bowl for you to put that into, chef, so it's ready to serve in a minute. And we're going to use another one of those words now, to plate up. So that's the point where we're going to take two quite rough looking products and we're going to make them look as beautiful as Richard Soup does. And there are a lot of things we could add to this that give us that extra look. And that be that we're going to finish it with some jus, we could finish it with a lovely potato dish. But this is more about the process.
And along with the soup, we thought about presenting it in a nice dish. Now this immediately gives us a nice vision. It's not just a normal round plate, but how we can enhance a dish and bring it to the table and people to give that wow factor.
So you can see there, I'm just making sure that we don't have loads of excess water in our spinach.
Lovely.
So we've got a lovely golden colour on that now. I'm just going to add a little bit of seasoning because I want the chicken to be nicely seasoned on the outside. We only added a tiny bit of seasoning to our mousse. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pour it off a minute. I don't want my pan to be too hot for this next stage. So I'm going to add a little bit of butter. But we're going to start building our plate first, chef. Okay, so butter goes in. I'm just going to sort of, I'm going to use another of those little words here now, chef. Sorry? I'm going to use another of those little words now. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to nappe that.
Nappe. It's not a nappy.
It's not a nappy, but a nappa.
A nappe.
So basically, I'm just going to constantly keep coating my chicken in that butter. It's not burning. It's just got a nice little nut brown about it. As you can see, what went from that quite very plain looking chicken supreme
to that nice golden colour to it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's great, chef.
So let me lift that out. I'm going to put that back on our yellow board because we're still cooked. Okay. I've got a little bit of juice on there from earlier, so I'm just going to take that off so I'm not working on top of my mess. So if you're ready for the spinach, chef, then I'm going to carve this chicken.
Yep. So where are we going to put it?
I think we're just going to go just on the side over there, chef, and then we're going to then we're just going to plate this nicely.
You're going to use all of it, chef?
Yeah, I think so. For the size of the chicken we're going to do. So what I want to do here, Richard, is I want to just take the ends off. That's going to be the bit that's really well cooked.
Yeah.
And I don't really want that because it's going to be a little bit over. And I'm going to do sort of two little stages. I'm going to take this in half. So you're going to get the beautiful visual of that mousse through the centre of our chicken from earlier on.
Lovely.
Then also, to really look at this, I'm just going to slice. I'm going to do some really nice, not too thick, not too thin. 1, 2, 3. So then I'm going to pop that on our plate there. And I'm going to take this, making sure we get that nicely presented. And I'm going to sit that.
This is where you mustn't rush through this, and if you want to do the correct dish, you've got to just handle it carefully, as Darren's doing, but replacing it, or just throwing it on any old how, and it makes that dish look a lot better.
And there we go. What we've got there now is a little chicken roulade with spinach, and we can finish that. So that would be a great little starter. It's a nice little dish to go on a buffet, that as well, isn't it? If you've had that as your buffet dinner, beautiful. It really is.
Well, these are simple little dishes which are not too complex. There's not too many what we call movements in the plate, but it's presenting things which you think, yeah.
I mean, for me, it looks great.
You're not ashamed about it, yeah?
No,
so,
that's it. Either one of the dishes come out in the restaurant, I'd be very happy.
Lovely.
So, and I think that's basically what we wanted to go through today, isn't it?
Yeah. So, really, at this stage now, I think it's questions and answers. Anybody who's got any questions, anything that we can help you with our experience with Hilton as head chefs, and what we could actually teach you in terms of what the stages are in starting off, and how you can progress.
Yeah, totally.
How you
progress. We weren't born into a head chef, were we?
Exactly. And that ladder. And that ladder can grow very, very quickly. And it doesn't mean to say if you're young, you've got to wait so many years. It's all about how that person takes on board listening and learning.
But also what's more important is that they want to learn.
And it has to be something that comes from themselves.
Very much so.
Somebody who listens and progresses, logs things down, even taking photographs of the dishes, and progresses along.
I've still got my notebooks from when I first started
and this is
20 years ago.
This is where we encourage our team to keep on as we revolve around new menus or new things, getting everybody involved in our dishes, that we're getting better results.
Yeah, I mean, it's that constant progression. So I'd like to say thank you to Richard. It's been a pleasure.
Darren, thank you.
And any questions, please contact us. Okay.
And we'll be happy to answer them.
Definitely. Thank you very much.